Thanks for staying with NDTV. You're watching the Wednesday edition of the World Report with me, Arjun, Samar, Mahendran. A team of Central Bureau of Investigation has taken custody of alleged economic offender Monica Kapoor in the United States. Now, Kapoor, who has been a fugitive for 26 long years now, viewers, is in fact scheduled to be brought back to India tonight on July the 9th by the CBI team. Now, Monica Kapoor went to the US in 1999, fleeing after her involvement in an alleged $679,000 fraud with her two brothers. The accused had forged documents for jewelry business and allegedly used these to obtain licenses from the Indian government to in fact import raw materials, also duty-free. The alleged fraud reportedly caused a loss of over $679,000 to the Indian exchequer. My colleague Rishabh joins us for more on this. Rishabh, do you have any details on when this economic offender will be brought back to India, and what will the process that will follow now once she is back?
Right, Arjun, she is set to face trial in India. She's been brought back, I think, this night, tonight. And what we're also seeing is the fact that this is a unique case in the sense that this is a very rare long gap extradition that we're seeing. The CPI had been after her for about 23 years. She'd been on the run. And this is despite her brothers who were also convicted in this case. Her brothers were convicted in 2017, but while she had fled abroad, but CPI persisted, and she is also now being charged and convicted and now being brought back for a fair trial here in India. What is also interesting is also that the extraditions from the US are pretty tough and infrequent. So to have, especially for white-collar criminals, we don't see this very often. To see this level of persistence is quite unique, and it's rare, honestly, to be seeing this. And also, this is, I think, a 1.5 crore fraud that was committed way back in 1999. Also, alongside this, just shows a clear shift in terms of economic crime accountability that the Central Bureau of Investigation is looking at right now. Back to you.
Well, a shift in economic crime accountability for sure there. Rishabh, thank you for getting us the latest. Now, moving on to our top focus of this Wednesday edition of the World Report. Viewers, PM Modi has landed in Namibia just a short while ago, marking the final stop on his 5-nation tour. And it's a historic one, as the visuals on your screen tell. PM Modi is visiting at the invitation of the Namibian president, the first woman president of the country, in fact. Now, the visit is all about strategic minerals, diamond trade, energy security, and even boosting digital infrastructure. This is PM Modi's first ever visit to Namibia, and only the third time an Indian Prime Minister will visit the country. He's expected to speak in the parliament and also pay tribute to the independence icon, Sam Nujoma. India and Namibia already share deep bonds. They span from defense and tech to the phase 2, hopefully now, of the famous cheetah relocation program. Now, both nations are aiming for the next big leap in their partnership. My colleague Mohammad Ghazali joins us for more on this. Ghazali, iconic visit coming to an end, 5-nation, 8 days. What can we expect at this final important and crucial leg in Namibia from the Prime Minister?
See, this particular visit to this African country, Namibia, which is also the third largest producer of uranium in the world, one of the largest producer of lithium, zinc, rare earth metals. From business point of view, certainly India will have a deeper collaboration as far as energy security is concerned. Beyond that, we know the cheetah diplomacy. We have also assisted Namibia for its independence struggle. The independent fighter there back in 80s was supported, assisted, and also trained by Indian military. So we have a pre-colonial as well as a post-colonial kind of association with Namibia. In the recent past, India has been assisting them when it came to COVID, providing them vaccines. Also during drought and other natural calamity, India has been providing and gifting rice to Namibia. Besides that, Namibia has been our supporter when it comes to permanent membership in the United Nations Security Council. But in the larger context, we have seen that how China has been expanding its influence in the African region, and that is why Prime Minister's vision, giving the African Union a membership for G20, and besides that, India hosting India and South African World kind of a union here, a summit here in India, being the host country, and always giving the voice or representing them, assisting them when it comes to be the voice of Global South. So in that context, India's Prime Minister views about Namibia, or in the larger context with Africa, is that they are connected with the people there. Not just like what we know, that when China invests somewhere, we have this debt diplomacy there, that how multiple countries getting assistance from China fall for that, and then they are in debt trap. But India has been providing material relief to people. They have been assisting them on global forum as well, and that is why in larger context this is very significant.
Well, thank you so much for unpacking the PM's visit for us there, Ghazali. Now, moving on, Germany has summoned the Chinese ambassador to the foreign ministry yesterday after saying China's military had in fact laser targeted a German aircraft taking part in a European Union operation in the Red Sea. Now, the flare-up in tensions comes as concerns are also mounting in the EU about Chinese influence on critical technologies and also the security infrastructure in Europe altogether. Germany's defense ministry has said that the aircraft was taking part in the EU's Aspides mission, which protects international sea routes in the Red Sea. It, in fact, had been contributing a multi-sensor platform or a flying eye for reconnaissance of the area since October 2024. Now, a Chinese warship, which had been encountered several times earlier in the area, had laser targeted the aircraft with no reason or prior communication during a routine mission flight, said a ministry spokesperson. The incident, for perspective, took place at the beginning of July. And Brazilian President Lula Inácio Lula da Silva welcomed Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi in Brasilia on Tuesday, and once again, in fact, criticized US President Donald Trump for suggesting he might impose tariffs on BRICS countries. PM Modi in turn stated that Brazil and India, as major democracies, have a role that is relevant not only to the global south, but to all of humanity. Now, during the ceremony, Lula also awarded PM Modi the National Order of the Southern Cross. It's the highest honor granted by the Brazilian government to foreign dignitaries. The two leaders also took part in a signing ceremony for bilateral cooperation agreements, sealing commitments in various strategic areas. Now, listen to what PM Modi had to say, followed by President Lula Inácio da Silva.
हम चाहते हैं कि बिना वीजा काउंटर की लंबी लाइन के भारत और ब्राजील के संबंध कार्निवल जितने रंगीन हो, फुटबॉल जितने जोशीले और सांबा की तरह दिलों को जोड़ते जाएं.
Paz que vai nortear o comportamento da relação Brasil e Índia. A paz, o desenvolvimento e o combate à desigualdade. Por isso, nós não aceitamos nenhuma reclamação contra a reunião dos BRICS. Por isso que nós não concordamos quando ontem o presidente dos Estados Unidos insinuou que vai taxar os países dos BRICS.
Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass has announced at a news conference that the state is joining a lawsuit to in fact challenge what they call are unlawful tactics used by the Trump administration in immigration enforcement. The lawsuit was filed by immigrant rights groups last week. It seeks a temporary restraining order to stop the Trump admin from targeting people in the raids based on their race and also denying detainees due process. Federal authorities and National Guard troops arrived with guns and horses at the MacArthur Park in Los Angeles early Monday. Here's more.
Some of them are California Border Patrol. They still shouldn't be conducting immigration operations on our street without reasonable suspicion or probable cause. It is supposed to be targeted to individuals, not going through a summer camp for school children.
Russia's defense ministry reported Tuesday that its forces had struck Ukrainian energy infrastructure and other targets as well, while Ukraine reported concentrated attacks in the Pokrov's direction. According to the daily briefing of the Russia's defense ministry, its troops targeted Ukrainian energy infrastructure supporting military facilities, troop deployment points, and also foreign mercenary bases during the past 24 hours. On the same day, the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine reported 86 clashes along the front lines as of Monday afternoon, with 37 of them in fact taking place in the Pokrovsk region. Ukrainian forces meanwhile are working to contain Russian advances as per a report from Kyiv. Staying with the region, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has said that he has instructed his team to intensify all contacts with the American side. Now, his comments came a day after US President Donald Trump said that the US will have to send more weapons to Ukraine, dramatically reversing a previous announcement of a pause in critical weapons. In fact, previously approved firepower deliveries to Kiev. In his lightly address, Zelensky also mentioned implementing sanctions against China as he accused Beijing of supplying ammunition components to Russia. Shifting our focus to West Asia, where the Palestinian death toll in the Gaza Strip has risen to 57,575, with 136,000 more injured since the conflict between Hamas and Israel erupted on the 7th of October 2023. Gaza's health authorities said in a statement on Tuesday that in the past 24 hours alone, the Israeli military operations have killed 52 people and have injured another 262 in the enclave. Meanwhile, at least 60 Palestinians, including 6 freed prisoners and a paramedic, were killed in Israeli airstrikes and gunfire across Gaza on Tuesday as well. US President Donald Trump on Monday said that Iran had warned his administration in advance, in fact, of strikes on a US airbase in Qatar last month. Iran launched a limited missile attack on the Al Udeid airbase in Qatar on the 23rd of June, retaliating for the American bombing of its 3 nuclear sites. It is a sprawling desert facility in Qatar that serves as a major regional military hub, in fact, for American forces. Here's more.
Not a pleasant period of a few days. It was a little longer than a few days, but this was not a pleasant period of time. And, you know, we were, at the end, 14 missiles were shot, and every single missile was shot out of the air. It was pretty amazing. That was sort of the end. And they told us they were coming and where they were and what time they were coming.
A video released on Tuesday by the Ansar Allah media office, the Houthi rebels' media arm, showed what it said was militants, in fact, boarding a vessel, as well as explosions on the ship, sending black smoke into the air. The Houthis on Sunday attacked the Liberian-flagged Greek-owned bulk carrier Magic Seas with drones, missiles, rocket-propelled grenades, and also small arms fire, while forcing its crew of 22 to abandon the vessel loaded with fertilizer and steel billets for Turkey. The gunmen stormed the ship's bridge, running over broken glass. They then appeared in drone footage chanting the Houthi slogan, "God is the greatest, death to America," and so on. Finally, explosives likely planted on the vessel exploded, sinking it totally, as you see on your screens right now. 30 years after the Srebrenica massacre, members of the United Nations General Assembly are calling on each other to protect human dignity. The Srebrenica killings were the crescendo, in fact, of Bosnia's 1992-95 war, which came after the breakup of Yugoslavia, unleashed nationalist passions and also territorial ambitions that set the Bosnian Serbs against the country's 2 other main ethnic populations, the Croats and the Bosniaks. In fact, on the 11th of January 1995, Serbs overran the Srebrenica, at the time a UN-protected safe area. Not only this, they separated at least 8,000 Bosniak men and boys from their wives, mothers, and sisters and slaughtered them. Those who tried to escape, meanwhile, were chased through the woods and over the mountains around town. And crews continue removing debris as search continues for the missing after deadly Texas floods. Now, more than 160 people are still believed to be missing in Texas, days after a flash flood killed over 100 people during the July 4th weekend. The state's governor has underlined this on Tuesday. Meanwhile, search and rescue teams are using heavy equipment to untangle and peel away layers of trees, unearth large rocks in riverbanks, and also move massive piles of debris that stretch for miles in the search for the missing people. Crews in airboats, helicopters and on horsebacks also, along with hundreds of volunteers, are part of one of the largest, in fact, search operation in the state's history. Those reported missing are in the Kerr County, where most of the victims have been recovered so far. Meanwhile, this is what Governor Greg Abbott had to say.
Just in the Kerr County area alone, there are 161 people who are known to be missing. And again, that comes from combined law enforcement efforts, 161 known people who are missing. Know this, we will not stop until every missing person is accounted for. Know this also, there very likely could be more added to that list.
Meanwhile, floodwaters trapped people in their homes and cars Tuesday in a mountain village that is a popular summer retreat in southern New Mexico. This as monsoon rains triggered flash floods and an entire house would step downstream, as the visuals on your screen show right now. Meanwhile, emergency crews carried out at least 85 swiftwater rescues in the Ruidoso area, including of people who were trapped in their homes and cars, said Daniel Silva of the New Mexico Department of Homeland Security and Emergency Management. However, no injuries or deaths were immediately reported, but Silva did say the extent of the destruction wouldn't be known until the water recedes.
The flood started and then a really big flood just came, like a wall of flood. It came and it started going through, and that's when I started recording because it got so wild so quickly. And that's when I saw the house coming down the river. And unfortunately, that house is one of my best friend's houses here.
Greece's iconic Acropolis was closed temporarily on Tuesday as soaring temperatures continue to grip the country. Now, the ancient citadel in the capital city of Athens, which contains many ancient Greek ruins, was shut between 1300 and 1700 hours local time. Highs of 42 degrees Celsius or 107 degrees Fahrenheit were forecast for parts of the European country on Tuesday, and a Category 4 wildfire warning signaling a very high risk was also in place in several regions. It comes as wildfires were reported in other parts of the continent, including France and Spain's Catalonia region, weeks after they were hit by a deadly early summer heat wave. Romanian firefighters were battling wildfires with helicopters and trucks on Tuesday as flames blazed through hundreds of hectares of vegetation and forest cover. In eastern Romania, meanwhile, a Black Hawk helicopter sprayed water over a smoldering fire near the town of Mutel, while elsewhere, firefighters used small boats to in fact target burning vegetation in the Danube Delta. Now, during the past days, viewers, fires have burned down hundreds of hectares of vegetation and forest also in various counties of the country. This comes as high temperatures and dry winds fuel the flames. Elsewhere, hundreds of fires raged in Serbia following a period of extremely hot weather in parts of the Balkan region. Meanwhile, flights to and from Marseille were suspended on Tuesday and traffic at the city's main train station was disrupted due to a wildfire threatening the southern French port city, according to local authorities. Now, the prefecture urged people in their affected areas to in fact stay indoors and off the roads. With the fire approaching Marseille, the prefecture also advised residents in the north of the city to keep windows closed to prevent toxic smoke from entering their homes. Live TV footage shows light smoke giving the sky over Marseille's old port as dusty aspect as water-dropping planes tried to extinguish the fire in the outskirts of the city, which has some 900,000 inhabitants. And King Charles III, French President Emmanuel Macron, the Prince and Princess of Wales, mind you, and other members of the royal family arrived for a royal banquet on Tuesday, held in honor of the French president's state visit to the UK. Macron and his wife Brigitte arrived in Britain on Tuesday at the start of a state visit as the two countries highlight their long friendship with conspicuous displays of military pomp, golden carriages, and of course, royal toasts. It's time we step into a short break. Much more on the other side. Thanks for staying with the World Report on NDTV. Now, news from the business first, where Donald Trump has said he will in fact announce a 50% tariff on copper, hoping to boost domestic production of a metal critical to electric vehicles, military hardware, the power grid, and many more consumer good viewers. Now, Trump told reporters at a White House cabinet meeting that he in fact plans to make copper tariffs announcement later in the day, Tuesday, but however did not say when the tariff would in fact take effect. US stocks ended mixed on Tuesday as investors weighed escalating trade threats from US President Donald Trump. Now, against bullish revisions to Wall Street's outlook for the rest of the year, the Dow Jones Industrial Average fell by 165.60 points or 0.37% to 44.240. The Standard and Poor's 500 sank 4.46 points meanwhile, or 0.07% to 6,225. Speaking of the Nasdaq Composite Index, it increased by 5.95 points or 0.03% to settle at 20,418. Now, 6 of 11 primary Standard and Poor's 500 sectors ended in red, with consumer staples and utilities leading the laggards by losing 1.09% and 1.07% respectively. Meanwhile, energy and materials led the gainers by rising 2.72% and 0.53% respectively. And for the first time since breaking the hearts of crores of Indians with his announcement of Test retirement, Virat Kohli has spoken of the topic in public. As the host Gaurav Kapoor interviewed Virat Kohli on stage, he somehow managed to draw attention or a reaction on Test retirement from the India great. Gaurav said that everyone misses Virat Kohli a lot in the field. This is when the Indian great broke his silence, and I'm quoting him here. He said, "I just colored my beard 2 days ago. You know it's time when you're coloring your beard every 4 days." That's what Kohli said. And Sean Diddy Combs will be sentenced in his federal crime case on the 3rd of October, viewers. A judge confirmed the schedule on Tuesday after probation officials in fact rejected his defense and prosecution's plan to move the date up by about 2 weeks. Now, Combs remains jailed after a split verdict last week. The hip-hop, in fact, mogul's lawyers had been urging Judge Arjun to sentence him as soon as possible. Now, Combs' lawyers want less than the 21 to 27 months in prison that they believe the sentencing guidelines recommend. That's all we have for you today. Take care and have a wonderful day.